everyone, it's Misty, and I wanted to welcome you to the Creating with Crafty 45 YouTube blog hop. And this is a really good occasion for us because we are celebrating 3 years over at Creating the Crafty Life. And so to kick off, we're having this YouTube blog hop, so I'm really glad you're here. And I'm the first hop stop, so you're in the right place. So here's the price package for the sponsored by Ambitiousista for the hop. This is the grand prize, and it features Graphic 45 botanical tea, petaloo flowers, shabby chic embellishments, and some trims and laces from Ambitioista. I have a tutorial for you guys today, so please sit back and enjoy. I decided I was going to use Couture for my tag, and I love this paper pad. I've been having a lot of fun with it. It's not the traditional colors that I really use, except for maybe that teal blue color. It has a lot of the orange, and then there's some green in there, and it's just normally not me, and I don't use a lot of black either. But I love this collection, and you can definitely use the lighter colors. You can just play with it and do a lot of fussy cutting. So I did a lot of fussy cutting in this one, and which I really did enjoy. And so that's the 8x8, and if you do like I did and use this sheet here as your base, you'll be just fine. And then here's the 6x6 pad, and I love this pad because it's just the patterns, and so it's really good for just for added touches if you don't want super busy backgrounds, for cards, I mean all sorts of things. I just like it, and it's double-sided, so if you don't like one side, you're sure to like the other side. I started with just a medium weight chipboard, and I did a slightly bigger tag. It's 7 inches tall and 3 3/4 inch wide, which is slightly bigger than a number 8, slightly smaller than a number 10. I'm using my ATG gun to adhere it down rather than Mod Podge, because I'm not doing any type of mixed media wet things on it today. I'm using my corner chomper that has some decorative edges. It's not just the corner rounder, just because it adds a nice touch. I'm using some Tim Holtz Distress ink for the edges. Nothing fancy, but just to give a little more vintage and finished look, especially when I did the sanding. And I used the walnut stain. And then I decided I wanted to do another layer on top, just to have a little bit more going on, to play with the eye a little bit. And so I decided to use some of that 6x6 pattern, and I'm just going to ink it up. And I know it's similar in color, but it does pop out a little bit. It has some blue in the pattern, and then I did some distressing, and then I decided I was going to use the distress tool and really feather up those edges. You can use scissors, or you can use a craft knife, or you can just plain use your finger if you really want to, like your fingernail. And I do use my fingernail in addition to the tool, because I like not only just the edges to be feathered, but I like to push them in more, just on different spots, not the whole edge. And it just gives a nice fun texture and look to it. And so you can see here that I'm just doing that, and I just pick, you know, a little bit of spots here. You want to be a little careful that you don't push too hard and end up ripping your paper, because you are breaking down those fibers. Now I have done that, and it's okay if you do. You can just kind of just roll with it, and you know, I tend to tear it even a little bit more just to make it look like it was on purpose. But you do want to be a little bit careful. No need to be, you know, throwing your paper away. And so I'm just going to adhere this down again with the ATG tape, because it's, you know, paper on paper. But first I decided that I wanted it to have a little bit more vintage going on. So I did do that with the distress tool, with the inking tool, and I did in a circular motion going from the craft mat to the paper to make it a nice feathered kind of a look. And so next I'm going to be doing the really fun part that I love, and that's the spraying and playing with the color. And so I'm spraying this doily here, and first I started with the clam bake beige, and I didn't like that it was too light, so I decided I wanted to do some more color. And so I went in with the Tainted Love teal, and then I sprayed it down, and I didn't want it to be too dark, so I always pat it down a little bit. And then once I did that, I went in with the Whale Watch blue, because the colors, the Tainted Love teal is a little too green, and the Whale Watch blue is a little too blue. So when you marry those two together, they make the perfect color to match the aqua or teal, I'm not sure what color you want to call it, that's in this collection. I'm going to go ahead with some of the Hagswort orange, and I'm just going to do a little bit of spritzing, just a light spritz on here, just to bring a little bit of the orange in there, because it is the classic couture color. And I did have a couple pieces on my tag that had a little bit of orange, so I just wanted to touch. And then I decided to do the black, which I kind of should have said stop and not have gone any further, but I didn't want to start another doily or anything, so you just kind of, what happens happens. So I made that spritz and then I stopped. And now I'm just going to do some fussy cutting, and the fussy cutting is really fun. I used to not do it, and it was really like, it's such a time consuming thing, but if you have the right scissors, it's a breeze. And these are the Cutter Bee scissors. And so I decided I was going to punch another circle, and I'm using my EK Success circle punch, and I think this is the 2-inch one. I had some other circles, but I didn't like the way they were working. So this is the same pattern paper as is on that second layer on the tag. So it does just kind of coordinate. And I wanted something on there just so to kind of offset the blue vintage lady that I did. And now I'm adhering down the doily with some Mod Podge, and I chose to use Mod Podge because the doily is delicate and thin, and I wanted to make sure I got all those teeny little pieces, so it really got adhered down good. And Mod Podge is one of the perfect things to adhere things down with. And you just want to make sure you don't put too much so that you don't have buckling. And so I'm just going to adhere down the little circle with some ETG tape. And then you can see how the vintage lady now pops a bit more now that there's that little beige background. And so this is really fun, and these are the Shabby Chic Treasures by Prima. They're resin, and if you're familiar with Prima, you're probably familiar with Shabby Chic Treasures. These are their newer ones. I believe this is from the Winter CHA, and these are gorgeous. I love the little dress form, and you know, it's just so cute. So those little circles didn't go to waste. I decided I was going to use those to make the dress. And I did 3 layers to make the dress that goes on the little dress form. And there was no measurements in this, so I'm going to say maybe roughly ½ an inch by about 1.5 inches or so. And I just cut it, and then I cut about a 45-degree angle on either end. You know, nothing exact. And then I did this for that little pattern, the blue, and then I had a tiny bit of the scrap black from when I was cutting the first layer to the paper. So I decided I was just going to use those, and it turns out that I only needed 1 of each because the dress form's really small, and so you don't need this much. So it's really easy to do, and you're going to want to also cut a slightly concave section in the top part, in the short part of your little piece, and then on the bottom part I just took some scissors and did a wavy edge, just all hand free. Now you're going to want to score at about 1/16 to 1/8 inch and all the way from one side to the other, and make sure it's parallel with that 45-degree cut. And then this way it'll be really nice and easy to fold back and forth to make your pleats for your skirt. And you just want to make sure you pinch that top part, because that's what really makes that bottom part flare out. Now when adhering these down, I just simply use some hot glue, and I like to start from the bottom layer and work your way up. Now when you get it on there, before that glue dries, you want to pinch that top and really hold it down until it's all stuck down, so it's so that bottom part gets flared out properly. And as you can tell, you can simply stop just with the bottom if you want to do a skirt, but it looks really pretty when you add the layers, especially with the contrasting colors. So now I'm just gonna color up the corset, and all I did was just take my brush and dip it in a little bit of water and then just a tiny bit of the Distress walnut stain ink, and it's so easy just to paint it on there. And I just wanted that corset to pop a little bit, and then I decided later that to go in with the Screaming Banshee black, just because it blended a little too much in with the background paper. And so you can see that, you can see it, but it's just a little too blended in. So the Screaming Banshee black Starburst spray, all I did was just drip some of it on there and then just paint it in. And you can still see a little bit of the brown popping through, but it's mostly just like a grayish black color now. And you just heat it and then you're done. I wanted to use some of this scrap lace that I have, and it is just some crocheted lace, and I don't do bows, so I just tied it in a knot, and because it is so tiny, I didn't want a lot of bulkiness, so you just tie it once. And then I did glue a little miniature flower on there from Emmy's Treasurista. It's a mini rose. And then the vintage ladies, I wanted them to have a little bit of dimension, so I just used some foam adhesive pop dots. And I actually use the ones by Recollections. It's just the ones I prefer. And you want to make sure that you do adhere like on the smaller ends, like the arms or the legs, or just the delicate parts. And you can just easily just cut those foam pieces up and just adhere it wherever you need it. If the foam piece seems a little too thin to really adhere down, just add a little bit of hot glue or glossy accents or any type of wet glue to the bottom, and you'll be fine. Now this smaller one, I used foam adhesive dots that are a little bit taller than the larger one, so it even pops up just a tad bit more, but not all that much. But you can definitely see it in person, the different layers. Hot glue, you want to be more on the generous side, and you want to make sure that you adhere it down quickly and you push to where it's completely flat and flush, and then that way you know you have a really good tight seal, and then it's not going to be going anywhere. Okay, next we're going to be working on some of the flowers, and I'm using Clambake Beige on this really large rose. It's about a 2-inch rose, and it has some really good dimension on it. And you just spray it lightly, and then you just heat set it. And I just really like the color and just the softness of it. And so and then I'm going to start working on some of the other flowers. The next one, I'm going to be doing the Tainted Love Teal, really lightly going on over it. And then, so it's not getting full coverage. so it's kind of have a spotted look. So make sure you use like just a little water spritzer, and I sprayed a little bit of water on it. That way the color blends completely seamlessly through the whole flower, and you just don't have a spotted look. Now you don't want to use too much water though, be real careful. I did want to show you those little pieces there. They're just some little, they look like stamps, and I've just fussy cutted those out of the paper collection. And so now I'm going to use some of the charcoal chalkboard paint by Tattered Angels, and I decided to go with this because it was a much truer black color. And then also the sentiment here, I just did the edges a little bit for you, and then I'm going to shape it. But the sentiment was from the paper collection, so all I did was just cut it out and just some scrap black paper from the same collection, and then just adhere it together. So now I'm just spraying some more flowers, and this is for the second flower arrangement, and this is where the little corset is towards the top of the tag. And I'm going to start putting all that together, and then you're going to really see it, the whole tag, in its nearly finished state. So I'm just going to play around up here a little bit with these flowers and the corset and sentiment, and then I did cut out another vintage lady, and I really like it. I didn't like that there was a lot of space up there, so the vintage lady worked really well. So once you play around a little bit, you'll figure it out. And then I'm going to start adhering everything down with some hot glue, and I'm going to adhere most of it down before I do the hole for the tag itself. But I did not want to completely adhere down the vintage lady. So right now she's not getting adhered down, just the flowers are. But I wanted to roughly know where she would be at, so I knew where I wanted to put the flowers. I love these daisy flowers from Couture because you really can fluff them up and play around with them, and they're really nice. And I also used the cherry blossom. But now I'm going to put that hole in there, and I'm using my crocodile, and this is the original crocodile. This is the smaller one, and I love it because you can just punch the hole, and then you can use the same tool to set the brad. So now that I know where my hole is, I'm going to go ahead and adhere everything else down before I put the brad in. I just kind of wanted to make sure that where the hole is going to be before I permanently put her down, because I didn't want to have to punch through her or pull her back up or anything. But the one corner was put down with the flowers, and then I decided I wanted her on pop dots, so I just went ahead and put some behind her, and that's why I was doing it this way. And then you just, and she's really close to that brad, but it's perfect, and there's just enough room. So I'm going to go ahead and push, or not brad, I meant eyelet. I'm going to go ahead and push that eyelet in there. So now I'm just going to add another little stamp in the back of the other two stamps. I'm just going to ink it up, cut it up, and tear up the edges just a little bit before I put it in the back. I just thought it just needed just a little bit more something right back in there. It was a little too empty in that center area. And I'm just going to adhere it with some hot glue, so nothing fancy. And I kind of like bent up the edges a little bit and just made it so it wasn't completely flat and it had some depth to it. And then to finish off the major part of the tag here, I'm adding some lace to the bottom, and this is the Ivory Drip Venice lace from Embry's Treasurista, and I really do love this lace. It does have a slight shine to it because it is a Venice lace, so there's a little bit of shimmer kind of to it. And so once I get it all adhered down, sometimes I go over that with a little bit of maybe a little bit of my Distress ink. And I mean just really lightly, because you don't want to grunge it up a lot. So just very lightly, just to darken up that color just a tad. And so now for the top part, I use some white seam binding from Emmy's Treasurista, and I'm gonna color it with the charcoal, and then I'm gonna go into where the white is still showing, and I'm gonna spray it down with the Tainted Love Teal. And then I do pat it a little bit to soak up some of the color. You can heat dry seam binding, you can leave it straight, you can scrunch it up, you can do a lot of different things. That's why I really do like seam binding. It takes sprays so well. So now I'm also going to do another piece with the Clam Baked Beige, and this is just to add some contrast. And I'm leaving this one relatively straighter than I did the other one. So now I folded it in half and I stuck it through the loop, or through the hole, and I'm pulling the loop through, and then just keep tugging. It should come pretty easily unless you make it a little too thick like I did. And then you just kind of slip the top part through your little loop, and then you just pull it. And then you pull it really tight, and that's pretty much it at the very top. I did end up going back later and cutting it shorter just because they kept flopping over. So now I'm gonna do some more distressing on some paper here. This is from the 6x6 pad, and this is going on the back side just to give a finishing touch to the back. It is covered, but I wanted to add a pocket back there just to put my information, you know, like my YouTube channel and my name and stuff like that. And so I just wanted to make a little tag, so I'm using my corner chomper again just so the top part is nice and uniform and you know, even and looks the same. So once I get that down, you'll see when I make the pocket. Now when I did the pocket, I was looking for a tag, and I ended up coming across the very first page, and it had this image on here, and I really liked it. So I decided I was just gonna fussy cut it out and turn it into a pocket. And it was big, it was just barely big enough, so it worked out really well. So once I fussy cut it out, I decided that just like I do any pocket, that I am going to use my my ATG tape to adhere it down, but then I always want to add just a little bit of hot glue to the very sides, and this way you get a good adhesion, and that way it will not peel up anytime that you're putting stuff in and out of the pocket. And then I did go a little bit higher up at the bottom with my glue, because I didn't want the tag to fall down inside and then you couldn't get to, because it was a fairly small tag. So now I'm just creating the little tag here, and I'm using some Memento Tuxedo Black ink and a stamp that I had specially made just with my information, and then I'm going to punch it out with my EK Success punch, and I stamped it on some craft cardstock, and I'm just going to put a little tab on it with some burlap ribbon, and then I just stapled it with my Tim Holtz attacher. And so this is what it looked like, guys. I really hope you liked it, and I had a lot of fun sharing the process video with you, and I really do love this collection. And I'm sorry it looks a little green because of the lighting in my room, but once you see in the upcoming pictures that that's really not a green color, it's more of a blue color. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to check out creatingthecraftylife.com for the rest of our celebration events. We have tons of things going on. We have kickstarting on Monday. We have our scavenger hunt, and then we've got classes, and props and tons of giveaways, lots of fun stuff. And so next on the Creating the Crafty Life, Creating with Graphic 45 Hop, is the very talented Deb Edwards. So go ahead and click the image in the center of the screen and to go see her video.